Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
7 o'clock. It's Sunday night. Sitting here
back.
in the cabin. Got the air conditioning rolling. Man,
Yeah, you think? It's a little warm.
90 plus degrees out. Jeez, oh,
like I told you, it's hot outside, so it's a good day to work on the inside.
absolutely.
And boy, did I work on the inside, but I love it. So it was good.
Okay, we're going to do a little bit of sharing as we always do here, so give us just a second, and we will get rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
With tonight's show, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Okay.
All right, do some sharing. Here we go. Dun, dun.
Hey, Charles Barham, Tom Ginzel, already on. You guys are like clockwork, I swear. You are right there. Chomping at the bit, ready to go tonight. That's good, though. That is good. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use my phone.
What's today's date?
Today is the 5th. August 5th. Yes, sir. Hey, Michael Ryder. Hey, Michael, are you back from up north yet, or are you still up at deer camp? I heard you were up there with the family this weekend, or this week, actually. Just wondering. Give me a quick text or message there if you're still up that way. Okay. I'm lagging behind here a little bit, man. You're going to beat me to the punch tonight.
Wow. Don't say that.
Hey, Charles, what's going on? All right, got 2 more to go.
Yep.
1 more to go.
Cool.
Come on.
Oh, don't go that way. Go this
Okay. All posted. Okay, Jason Riggy took a 5-hour tubing trip down the Osabo today, and about an hour in, punctured 1 tube or so. I spent
only 1?
4 hours swimming and walking. Oh, I can't see it. What did it say there?
Punctured 1 tube, so I spent 4 hours swimming and walking while wife and daughter shared the other tube. What a guy. What a guy.
Man, I can't say anything. I had a flat tire this week while I was at work.
Yeah, you did, dude.
Yeah, I had to sit and wait, so that was not fun. All right, let me make sure I got this.
Hey, Mike, I'm listening from the lodge.
All right.
Saw where the trenches for the oak wilt were. Crazy stuff.
Yep, and hopefully that oak wilt has been taken care of there in that area. So far, so good. Hopefully we don't see any more. We're keeping a close eye on it. So, Dan, are you ready to get this show kicked off?
Let's do it.
All right, let me get the record rocking here. Okay, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal Podcast, everybody. Host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan, the one and only Defoe.
It is hot. It is August. What more can you want?
Some more Hunter's Blend coffee.
You know what? It tastes really good tonight.
It does.
So I must be a little on the tired side.
Yeah.
I had some this morning and then some this evening. So
we're like Dan Yassa, drink at 90 degrees and we're drinking coffee.
I know, Dan Yassa. He's a different cat.
It's all good stuff. But
it was good. It was, it's August. It's hot. Funny thing about that, hot in August,
What's
I
that?
noticed the leaves must be, the trees must be stressing from the lack of water around here.
My black walnut tree, I mowed the yard tonight and the leaves are on the ground. Yeah, it's stressed.
Yeah, they're dropping like, depending on what tree it is, they're dropping like mad.
You know, what else going to be dropping here soon is deer, man. It ain't going to be long till bow season kicks in. And actually, that's what we want to talk about tonight.
But for bow season, you need some arrows.
Right. Well, last week we had one of our guests, or not guests, but one of our listeners actually ask about arrows. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and open up the mic here to our guest for tonight, Alex Tait. Hey, Alex, what's going on from Carbon Express Arrows?
Good evening, Danny. Mike, how we doing, guys?
We're just chilling out, having a good time tonight. So we appreciate you taking a little time out and sitting and talking arrows with us.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, not a problem.
Not a problem at all. When we shooting Carbon Express this year, and I'm shooting the Maxima Reds SDs, and then I'm shooting the Mayhem SDs as well. And
Nice.
I tell you what, those SDs, they're sharp. I don't know any other word, but they are an awesome arrow, and I really like the small diameter. Tell us a little bit more about the Maxima red ones that we're using. They're the tri-spine, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So most of our Maxima line, everything right now except the Maxima Hunter, which is a legacy shaft for us. It's been in the line for almost a decade now. But all of our Maxima series is what we call a tri-spine, which has our red zone technology in it. So what that is it's, you know, essentially 3 different portions shaft, and they react a little bit differently. So the portion is extremely stiff, so it stabilizes on the shot and helps the recovery of the arrow. The middle portion of the arrow is a lot more flexible, so it allows the arrow to, you know, get that needed flex to be forgiving and get the broadhead flight that you need. But the front, again, is very stiff to hone that broadhead flex in and keep that oscillation as minimal as possible. So the red that you guys are shooting, you know, is a standard diameter, and then the SD that Danny's talking about there is a small diameter, which is a 203 inside diameter, and it uses a full steel half-out insert up front.
You know, looking at that and the pile driver is obviously a lot bigger diameter arrow. That's the one that you guys have got me on this year for hunting. Talk a little bit about, you know, the difference between a smaller diameter, for those who don't know, and a larger diameter. What applications those work in? You know, I mean, I'm using the SDs on my target bow outside.
Yeah, SDs, you know, it's 203 inside diameter compared to 244. So it is, I wouldn't call it significantly smaller, but it's enough to, especially with the steel insert giving you that extra FOC up front, it's enough to cut through the wind a little bit better. So those guys who are shooting out west or traveling out west for elk, or maybe going on, you know, a African hunt where it's 70, 80 yard shots, you know, depending on the application, that's where those really shine. But, you know, a lot of people are finding success with them, even on the 3D course. You know, it's just an extremely accurate arrow.
You know, now looking at, sorry, I was switching shots there. I kind of lost where I was going with this. But for the average guy out there, like the person who asked us last week, got a bow, whether it's new, whether it's old, they want to get some new arrows for whatever reason. You know, maybe they're shooting something from way back when they got a bow given to them, and the person that gave it to them has got some old aluminum shaft arrows. And they're like, well, I need something new. Or maybe the guy's going to go out and he's going to buy a new bow because that's what he's been shooting, and he's looking at arrows. How does somebody in either one of those positions, they're going, I don't know a whole lot about them. How do I pick an arrow for my bow? What's the process?
Well, especially with all the brands out there, it's extremely confusing. One thing that we've really tried to do for the consumer is to show them what they're getting with, you know, each price point. So we have 3 different price points mainly. We have a good, better, and best. And, you know, we sent out posters this year, and we've been doing a little marketing on that, you know, where it's the good is single spine arrows, you know, is where it's traditional, essentially no technology in them, just a well-built carbon shaft, reliable carbon shaft. So that's, you know, going to be your prep series. And then from there, it's better, which is going to be your Mayhem series, your pile driver series. So those have been revamped from years past, and completely new arrows, completely new designs, and they're actually dual spine weight forward, just like our ever popular Maxima Hunter arrow.
Okay.
And then moving up there is our best, like we went over just a little bit ago, our Maxima series mainly.
For guys who are coming into this newer technology and they're looking at getting arrows, and we're talking about weight forward, explain that for them just a little bit.
What weight forward is, you know, especially a target archer will find this out very quickly, is you start to put a little bit extra nose weight out there, and it helps the arrow be more forgiving, and it helps it be more accurate. So building weight forward into an arrow shaft, you know, essentially whether it be a dual spine where it's the front 2/3 is a heavier, you know, carbon layup than the third, or whether it be a red zone where it just, as you go forward in that, you know, it increases in weight as you go forward grains per inch. So what that does for a hunter is it just helps with broadhead flight, and it really hones in on accuracy as well.
Putting that weight forward technology into an arrow, How does that affect when you start putting a broadhead on the front and trying to steer a broadhead? Does that have any play into it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Our dual spine weight forward, there's a reason the Maxima Hunter has not gone away for almost a decade now. It's, and I have this experience from working in pro shops beforehand and selling a lot of Carbon Express arrows. There's guys out there that won't shoot anything other than a Maxima Hunter because they were just so blown away how much better of an arrow it was when you put a broadhead on the front. It came out around the time of aluminum arrows were still fairly popular. So it really changed the game, as we like to say. So that's what dual spine weight forward will do for you. If you haven't tried it,
you got to get on it.
I recommend it because you won't go back.
And that's what I started out with when I really got serious about bow hunting is getting those Maximas, and it really did. It blew me away. You can take a broadhead off, or take a field point off after getting your bow set up, and when you start shooting broadheads, it's it's right there. It's
right.
It definitely made a difference.
Yeah, it's no joke. We've had a lot of pushback on from certain people out there, certain celebrities who represent other brands, and they're saying, "Oh, it's just a lot of marketing. It's just a lot of marketing." I challenge them to try the arrows because when they do, they realize it's not just marketing.
Well, as I say, the proof's in the bullseye or in the kill zone, one or the other, depending on where you're shooting at. So,
that's the thing. It's funny that he mentions that about hearing from other people, but you're right. We do it often ourselves. We talk about things, but we've tried them.
Right.
And we've tried other things. So it's not like, hey, here you go, shoot these, and we tell you it's great. No, you got to get out and shoot them. Just like trying a bow, just like arrows. Got to try them.
Well, actually, I was asked about a bow this weekend that was just unveiled, and they wanted my opinion on it. I said, honestly, I haven't put my hands on it yet or shot it, so I can't give you an honest opinion from me. And I want to do that because of that. So you got to shoot it, you got to experience it, you got to get out there and use the products to understand what they're all about. So
absolutely, and that's one of the things. Anything, it's like a car. Mm-hmm. You got to drive it. You just can't walk up and say, "I want that one." You're gonna, you'll find something wrong with it, and then you'll have that in your head for the rest of your time you have it.
Yeah. Well, Danny, you had some questions. You said you wanted to talk from the tip to the knock. So
yeah, and what we were talking was. We're talking about arrows here, and I also like to shoot crossbow. And when it gets cold out, I'm not one to pull back the bow. But talking about crossbow, the arrows we have for the compound bows and the Carbon Express bolts that we have. Talk about the difference as you go to a crossbow bolt for the Maximas and whatever bolts that you do have.
Yeah, so with a bolt, there's a little bit less going on. Length, 2/3 of the length, and it's larger inside diameter, and just structurally it reacts very, very stiff. So you're not going to get a lot of flex out of a bolt. So there's, we've tried doing tri-spine designs before, and not really much success as far as getting a more accurate bolt. But what has helped, pretty significantly, has been doing dual spine weight forward. Into the bolts. So our Maxima Hunter, our Maxima Badlands, and our Maxima Blue Streak are all dual spine weight forward bolts.
All right, so you're getting the benefit of a dual spine bolt in the crossbow. Cool.
Yeah, it just calms down that broadhead flight a little bit. Certain crossbows especially are extremely harsh launching that bolt out of the bow. So it just helps recovery a little bit quicker.
Absolutely, that's one of the things. You don't want to get your fingers up. You'll find out how harsh it is on a human as well as an arrow, right?
Right. Is part of that too about that weight forward? I imagine it does help, like you're talking about stabilizing that, since a lot of people use a heavier broadhead out front, and so that helps to stabilize that and settle that down.
Absolutely. Like I said, any target archer out there, and that's definitely my passion and why I'm in this sport per se. But any target archer out there knows as soon as you put 50 extra grains in the front, man, you think you can go pro next year, and 50 more extra grains, man, that's pretty good. It's it's a big difference.
Speaking of, you just mentioned target. We're talking hunting arrows here, but we talked about crossbow bolts. Talk about the tank series that you guys have. What's up with that?
Tank series is something near and dear to my heart. First of all, it's an absolute privilege to work at Carbon Express and Faraday Outdoors. I had the opportunity to shoot Carbon Express arrows, before coming on board, and actually shot my first 300 in a tournament ever with Carbon Express arrows. This is not being on staff, no sponsorship. So like I said, it's a real privilege to be able to represent a brand and a company and products that I truly believe in. I mean, I truly believe that they have an upper hand. So, like I said, first and foremost, there's that. Where are we going from that? I'm sorry.
See, talk about the tank series.
Tank series. Tank series was my first development in the product development side of things, moving into that position with Carbon Express. And from the start, we really wanted to focus on, like the name hints, something that's extremely durable. Carbon arrows are great because they're either broke in half or they're in one piece, and they're just as good as they were the day they came out of the bag. You never have to worry about them bending. But carbon arrows will break. So to make them stronger, we really focus not on doing the middle. In archery, you guys can probably say the same thing. How many arrows have you snapped in the middle? Very few.
Right.
How many have you plowed an arrow down the back side of it and shot a Robin Hood or cracked the back end, even with a knock collar sometimes, a lot more. So the tank series, that was the first thing we focused on. Both the 23D and the 27 are significantly stronger than anything else in its class. The 23D is actually 30% stronger than any competitor in its class. And what we're talking there is when you take a mandrel, essentially, or a pin bushing, anything like that, and you stick that about an inch into the shaft and you pull sideways on that, the breaking strength is 30% stronger. So it's got a lot more likelihood of deflecting, off something hard that's in a target, lodged in a target that would normally crack the front end of an arrow, or, the back end, but getting hit by getting hit by another arrow being propelled at the target. So that was the main focus on those arrows. And then the Tank 27, going off of our success with the X-Buster being a heavier shaft, we focused on making a heavier 27 series shaft, but still a reasonable spine, being a 250 spine, something that, people with 27-inch, 26-inch draw lengths, female, pros are having great success with. So, but that was the focus on the tank series.
Oh, okay, cool. So another one, if you're shooting targets, and get out and try it.
Absolutely. You had an experience shafting an arrow here about 2 weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I got the words of wisdom from Dan Yassa. That's why you use pin knocks. Thanks.
Yeah, we both have, and both with the Carbon Express Maxima SDs. I tell you what, it's changed the way I shoot. I mean, it's definitely improved my game, and I love them. Can't say enough about them. So
right, exactly.
Well, I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our first break. Alex, when we come back, you sent us a couple pictures. You said that you're a target archer, but you also do a little hunting, I see. Let's dive into that just a little bit before we let you go, if that's all right.
Sounds great.
All right, folks, we're going to step outside. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back after this. Okay, guys, on the live stream, if you got questions.
Got questions for Alex? Bring them on.
It'll be the last segment here that we're talking about. We're going to take a half hour of his time tonight.
Right. He's looking forward to Monday morning, getting to work,
like we all are,
recharging the batteries over the weekend. He's all ready to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Needs a good recharge every now and then.
That's right.
Amen to that.
Okay, let me save this off. We'll get rocking here. Okay, Dan, you ready?
Yep.
All right. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. Second segment of the show. We're still sitting here talking with Alex Tait, talking arrows, talking hunting, and all kinds of good stuff. Alex, you talked a little bit about the target game. You said that's where your passion's at. How did you get started into target shooting?
actually, I quit baseball my sophomore year of high school, and by the time I was a senior, I was just looking for something to do, and I got in heavy. It was 6-7 hours a day at the range during high school on my lunch breaks, and go set up and go right back after, and got fairly good. By the time I reached college, and by the time I finished college, I actually racked up 2 All-Americans, which was something that it was a lot of hard work for me. And like I said, I started a little bit later than most kids these days do. So like I said, it was a good accomplishment for me. Something that I really put a lot of effort into.
Well, exactly. You put the hard work, you put the time, you basically put the blood and sweat into it, and to get it, and it paid off with a couple All-Americans there. And how often do you shoot? You've been shooting regularly. I know you're working with Carbon Express. Work that kind of takes away from the fun side of it, but you getting into all the tournaments and everything that's going on?
Yeah, I still compete. It's like you said, it takes a little bit of the fun away. I bought my own house about a year ago, so I've been spending a bunch of time doing that. I did build my own range here, so I have an indoor 20-yard range, I have an outdoor 100-yard range, and I think this weekend I finished up the last couple of my projects, got the deck refinished, and I've just been working kind of all year. So I hope to kind of get back into it a little bit and fling a few more arrows, but I do still shoot plenty. It takes a lot for me those guys are so good. It takes a lot to compete.
Yeah, it does. I'm amazed at Dan Yassa for being on the road as much as he is. I talked to him Friday. He was on the west side of Michigan, and we've seen where he's doing, and we shot with him and how good he shot. And
that guy blows me away. It just simply amazes me. When you shoot with somebody who's really good, and it makes me feel, that I need to step my game up just to even think about shooting tournaments. You know what I'm saying? It just blows me away at how good some of these guys are, and just constantly shooting X after X after X.
And if we put Dan and Alex and we go shoot against them, I think we're going to be in really serious trouble.
I know we are. No doubt about it. So 6 to 7 hours, though. I mean, you were putting that much time in on the range when you were in college.
Yeah, when I was in college, it was a little less. But when I was in high school,
okay,
all that summer, all that entire year. I started about the junior year summer, so I had a whole year, lots of hours, and then in college, I was probably at 3-4 hours a day.
Where'd you go to school?
Purdue. I actually grew up in Indiana, so stayed in state and high school.
How in the world did you wind up in Michigan?
I actually was getting coached by Jim Morrow that owns MJC Archery my senior year in college.
Okay, nice.
So I just had that connection and actually moved up here to work in the shops for him.
Okay. Now, you also sent us another picture, so I know you hunt because you got a dead animal in front of you with a bow. So you've done some hunting. Do you do anything besides turkey hunting, or do you do any deer hunting, or is turkey just about it?
I love turkey hunting. Man, that's a good time. But I'll go freeze my butt off in a stand a couple times a year. I got to get that bow set up probably later this week.
The black one behind you there?
Yeah, right.
I got you.
Prime up there.
Okay, gotcha. But that bird's nice. But I got to ask you a question. Okay, so you took this bird with a bow. Why is it missing like a third of its tail feathers?
Ooh, that hunt's a story that it'd take a little bit to tell, but long story short, we hunted for 3 days hard on my buddy's farm up in Wisconsin, and it was late season. Everyone knows how turkeys are late season. They're smart about 2 days in, so give them a month. God, they're Albert Einstein out there. So, we finally got on 2 and came in from behind, no blind, no nothing. I'm laying on the ground. That shot was made at 40 yards. The bird absolutely running straight away up a hill, and just got enough of it.
You took a running shot at a bird running away from you, no less, in an open. Was it in the open cornfield?
It was in an open cornfield, at least. But I wouldn't advise it. It was more of one of those shots where you sit around all weekend and you get that last day and you say, even if it's marginal. Even if it's marginal.
It's now
right,
or never,
exactly. You know, it goes to show you, you know, but obviously with his practice and everything, he made the calculated shot and made just enough of a correct hit. Dude, I just picture you running through a cornfield after this bird, okay? I'm sorry.
It was something. It was one you'll never forget with, like I said, a buddy that's one of the best out there. So it's what hunting is all about.
Was this bird just an old warrior do you think this bird had been shot at and blew some of the feathers off of it, or did he lose something on?
That was my broadhead going through there.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's like half strut running up a hill.
Nice.
What do you tell everybody with a gun? Don't shoot him direct on. No, he shoots one with an arrow.
Well, yeah, right. No, that's awesome. Have you had the opportunity to take a deer with a bow yet?
I have when I was younger, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, before I started shooting competitively.
Okay. Well, what's on the horizon for you for the upcoming year? I mean, are you going to try to get back out in the woods a little bit, or are you pretty well stacked up with work? I know you guys are busy. ATA coming up.
Yeah, see, the issue is ATA is in January, and we like to launch products fourth quarter. Try to bring you guys some new goodies every year. Mm-hmm. So it's just a busy time of year. And a little guy like me, I don't like sitting in a deer stand after like October.
Oh man,
it's cold.
Why do you think I switched to a crossbow when I'm up in November?
Yeah,
it's like okay, month of October exactly. It's getting cold. It's like man, it's one of those things. But you know, speaking of the fourth quarter, without giving away the farm here, should we be looking to Carbon Express for something new and exciting come the new year?
Absolutely, always.
Nice. Well, you just have to keep your eyes peeled.
No, the short is good. We just want to know something new's coming out, so we can start keep in touch with you and start to tease the people come the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you know,
absolutely.
And you know, before we go, we don't want to say a whole lot about this, but Dana and I have been talking a little bit about you know, getting tree stands ready and things like that. Yep. You know, you guys sell safety products, correct?
We do, yeah. Gorilla trees or gorilla harnesses and safety lines. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so you can never forget about that. Getting into a tree stand, getting your tree stand set up and everything, making sure you get out there and
do things properly.
Yep.
So don't forget those products. So I tell you what.
And before we let them go, where can people go check out all this great stuff from Carbon Express?
CarbonExpressArrows.com.
Carbon Express Arrows. Don't forget arrows. .com.
Absolutely.
All right. You know, it's just another great company that's he happens to be right here, local to us.
Right up the road.
So I know that they've moved a little bit of the operations around, but you're still here in Michigan, which it makes it very convenient for us to be able to talk to you and hopefully see you out there on the target range or maybe in the woods, not late season, but maybe early season we can get you out, you know, before it gets too cold.
Yeah, when everyone else is sweating, I'll be just about right. So that'll be good.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, that's literally the fat and the skinny from the tank down to the SDs on arrows. So you guys make sure you get out. Are you guys going to be at any of the local shows coming up here anytime soon where somebody can check product?
We will be at Woods and Water, and we will have all of the Faradyne products there. So we'll have Rage, Muzzy, Whack-'em, True Fire, list goes on and on. So come and check us out. Say hello, please.
You'll definitely have all the Faradyne products, so that's cool to know.
Absolutely, and I do believe that is the second weekend in September, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you're right. 7th, 8th, 9th, something around that.
That sounds about right. It's always the second weekend of September. You know, and that show hits it perfectly because everybody's just gearing up, and if the weather's right, you get that coolness in the air.
Yeah, you get my trigger finger starts twitching just a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
So people get on out there, check out Faradyne, Carbon Express, and company out there. And I know one thing. I hope to make it out there. Hopefully, I'll see Alex out there. I am definitely staying out of the puppy tent. It cost me last year, and it's not happening this year.
Well, we'll see about that.
No.
All right. Hey, Alex, we appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your busy weekend for us to sit down and talk arrows with us. Anytime you got anything new, you got some new product coming out, let us know and we'll get you back on.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Everyone, take care.
All right. You take care, too. We'll see you. All right. I tell you what, folks, we're going to step outside real quick. We're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back after this. All right.
You talk to the crowd.
Danny's going to make a quick switch here in the back as I save this one off. Hey, Tony Smith, Wayne Sitton, Billy Hoffman, Jason Pfister. Hey, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Heather Reimar, Chris Kreiner's on as well. Guys, we're going to be talking a little bit about the 2018 Deer Rendezvous here coming up. Danny's actually going to probably interview me, I would guess, here about what happened this weekend.
Okay. I'm back. Got my screen.
You all set there?
Yeah.
All right. Let me save this off, and we will get rocking. Are you ready, Dan?
Almost.
Will you let me know when you're ready? And we will move along.
All right. Let's do it.
You all set?
Yep.
All right.
Just want to thank our guest real quick.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show, everybody. Before we get going tonight, we had Alex on. You okay? You all plugged in? You good?
Yeah.
You sure?
Must be. Oh, I know what it is. Hold on. Now talk.
Okay, you ready?
There we go.
I can't take him anywhere. I tell you what, he gets so confused.
You're not on my ear. Had to get my right ear to be. You're on your right side. My right side. Where you?
All right. Okay. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. He's good. He's set. Well, I tell you, before we go any further tonight, Dan, you don't know anything about this, but we did talk about this last week, and I got a little picture up here. We talked with Pat Durkin last week.
Yes, we did.
And he mentioned the cover of Deer and Deer Hunting magazine that you graced the cover of.
I did.
Back a couple moons ago.
A lot of moons ago.
So there's the cover of it, and there's a young Danny DeFall right there in that nice plaid shirt.
I was set up. That's all I know. You know, that was the first. Let me explain the whole. You don't have the other picture, do you?
No, okay. I don't. No, I don't. Unfortunately.
Okay. Well, you do. It's in there, but good thing you didn't copy it. But anyways, that's the first time I learned really of the whole quote production that goes into an event when you get a deer.
Right.
I mean, from okay, I shot one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. Okay, no.
Can't get it yet.
No, hold on. Everybody gather, get your equipment, cameras, blah blah blah. And how I used to do it, and you can see, is I changed out of my camo because we're gonna go get a deer. It's gonna be
right.
It turned into like some photo event for the next 5 hours,
right?
Which was fun. With Pat, that was his biggest buck to date at that time.
Okay.
And then with Greg Miller, Pat Reeves, up and coming at the time, some young videographer guy needing to help me to get into the first peg of the stand because they set him too high.
Right.
And it was just Tom Enderbo is where we hunted over there in Buffalo County. It was fun.
Well, I wanted to show you about that. We talked about that last week, but this week we've got something even more special. Danny knows nothing about this. Do you remember where that picture was taken, Dan? Do you have any idea?
No, not off the hand.
This was a weekend that Danny come over, and if you remember back in 2013, when I went through pretty much living hell with the fire and the tornado, this was the spring or the middle of the summer of 2014 on the back porch of the house that we were staying in, and that is when Danny DeFall come to me and wanted to kick off the Up North Journal again. And the reason I'm saying this is, Dan, you probably don't know, but tonight's your 200th episode.
Is it really?
It is. So I want to say congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
For your 200th episode. This was one of our first shows back in the cabin, the rebuilt cabin.
I was gonna. Okay, so see, the other picture was missing the lake. If I was seeing the lake,
it would give it away. But we started back there. I couldn't do what I do without having you here, man. And we took our show on the road to Cabela's. And it's been a whirlwind, It
has.
Christmas with Danny. That's all I can say.
All right.
And then we started moving things around the studio. This is before we started live streaming things, and it's just been a great time. But then all of a sudden, Danny and I decided to start live streaming, and lo and behold, here we are today. Right? 200 episodes later, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You know what?
I'd bake you a cake, but I can't bake.
Oh, I'll bake a cake. But you know what? Those 200 episodes, no clue. It's been zipping by.
It has.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
And when it stops being fun, we'll stop doing it. But it's been fun. It's been a riot. It's kind of like we're almost like brothers. We go at each other like we are. And it's fun.
Family, man. It really is.
We have a fun time and. Going places and doing stuff, going at each other, whether it's with a bow, gun, phone, whatever.
Yeah.
We have fun. Well, thanks.
So I just
that was a shocker. I had no clue.
I know you didn't because I've been planning this for about 5 weeks, and I thought, what am I going to do? And then Pat last week talked about the magazine and stuff, so I thought, well, I'll kind of ease into it with that and trick him into it. So
yeah, I not a 200 episodes. Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
So no, couldn't do it without you, man.
Hey, I when you were at a low spot in your life, I knew there was something we could. Actually, Kevin Hutchins was another one that he got a hold of me and said, "Hey," and it took me a while to figure out what to do. I was like, "Man, what can I do to help him out?" And I was like, "Duh." Let's
get her going again.
Yeah, let's get her going and enjoy what we like to do before that, and and learn from our past and don't do things again, and you just go. And it's we've been to ATA and we've been to events, we've been to rendezvous, we've been shooting with Anna Mirling, trying to get me to believe that she found my arrow, which she still hasn't found my arrow.
I almost put that picture up tonight, but I did not put that in the mix.
Which was good, but and we've met a lot of people. We have met so many people, and we continue to meet more people, and we meet the Denny Steiners, and we meet the Patrick Durkins, the Millers, and it just keeps snowballing. It makes it so much fun. And then locally here, just shooting. We meet so many people, but
it's incredible, man.
It's a fun ride.
It is, and that's why we sit here and we do this and bring this to you, and we keep trying to enhance it every single week and up our game and bring you something new, and go to like you said, go to the shows and meet people and bring information, because folks, by no stretch of we are not experts in this stuff, we're learning. I'm constantly learning as every time I go to something. So but
and that's it. So as long as we have fun, we're going to continue to do it, man.
Right on. So congrats.
Thanks.
All right, fist bump. 200 more. So all right,
let's get to that 500 mark and keep going.
There you go. Well, there's where I was at this weekend. I was at the 2018 Deer Rendezvous.
Okay,
got a plethora of pictures here. If you want to plow through some stuff and ask questions,
let me get comfortable here.
I've got
away. Plenty of questions.
First off, I got to say thank you to Anna Mitterling, who this is her last official event with MUCC as the Deer Cooperative Liaison, and she's handed the reins off and worked in conjunction with Morgan Warda on this event.
Okay.
And Josh Hilliard and Eric Schnell from QDMA also had a big hand in this as well. Can't say enough to everybody who participated in this event, from all the co-op leaders, all the QDMA branch leaders, and everybody else involved. It was a fabulous weekend. I can't say enough. I learned so much. It was incredible.
Was it warm?
It got warm about Friday at around noon until about yesterday at 4 o'clock when I left.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. I knew it was going to be a warm one for you. You were on the west side of the state.
Yeah, near Grand Rapids.
So let's start off with about how many people attended this event?
30-ish,
Okay.
I'm thinking. There was people there Friday who didn't make it Saturday. There was people there Saturday who didn't make it Friday. So it was about, I'm going to say probably roughly 30.
And you know what? Tell you the truth, that sounds like a good classroom size that everybody got a good amount of attention and detail what they needed. You know, when you have like hundreds,
Right.
you get lost
Yeah.
in the mix.
Yep.
So that was kind of cool. Good deal. So here you are sitting in the classroom.
Yeah. Yep. Started up in the front, and then we broke up into small groups. We did a lot of small group activities, and then we took them out into the field to do some work about what we actually learned. And this whole conference or weekend was geared towards helping deer hunters and farmers come together, because farmers usually hate deer.
Usually.
We love deer. And how do we work with farmers in making that work? Because the biggest influx of deer or population is usually where those two meet, where you have an agricultural meeting in woodlines.
Yep, exactly. And that's, and one thing, farmers, we can help farmers, and things can go good and things can go bad.
Right. So, the first thing we did, we went out in the field. This is at a farm. They're close by, and the guy in the orange there, he's the landowner, and we took the group out there and made way around. He leased out part of his acreage to a farmer as well, and he deer hunts the property as well.
Okay.
So we took off out in the field. We had somebody from DNR. That the young lady there in the green shirt, she is our deer specialist up in the area of northeastern Michigan, TB zone.
Okay.
So she was at the event, and she was in our group there. And the gentleman holding the paper there in the middle, that is James DeDecker. He works working with farmers for crop loss and things of that nature. And he's got a lot of knowledge on things, the way deer interact with crops and things of that
Right, yeah.
that nature. So he gave us a ton of information.
Talk about information overload or what?
Yeah, really, it was. Here he was showing us what basically this is a soybean plant, and you can see where it's been nipped off from deer. He talked about what stage of growth it actually can either kill the plant, or the plant will actually rebound and keep growing. And this one here is obviously kept growing, but he actually said there is a certain stage, they've done research, at a certain stage, that if a deer comes through and nips off the leaves at the right stage, it can actually increase production, believe it or not.
Oh, kind of like snipping and actually
Pruning, yeah.
pruning it and it,
Growing, yeah.
so it
Which
can
is
be
interesting.
helpful, but except the deer don't know when to do that.
They don't know when to stop. So, and speaking of not knowing when to stop, this is the same farm, and here's a cornfield, and you can definitely see where the deer eat the corn versus where they haven't been into yet. I'm standing on the edge, and you can see where the stunted growth is.
And how far does that go from the picture to the? Is it like circular in diameter, or is it like the edge of the field
It's like the entire edge.
right next to the wood line?
Yeah.
Okay, so they come out of the woods,
Yep.
right to the dinner table and
Yep.
chow down.
Yep, feed up. Right there's one of them that's been stunted, and they're still chewing on it just a little bit. So, and then from there we took off from this property. And we went over to an apple orchard. This particular orchard, these guys here, they own thousands of acres, but this was an 80-acre parcel that they had fenced in because the deer devastate the crops.
Okay, so this is a legitimate apple farmer.
This is an apple orchard. Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's their mainstay, is having people come pick apples and.
Yep.
Okay.
So, getting to talk to him and seeing how the deer interact with his property and what he wants to see done. The farmer, apple orchard owner there is in the white and red hat there, standing in the middle. And, he's explaining to us, how he's fenced in the property and the problems he has with the deer on his place. Now, he's raising this big section right here is Honeycrisp apples that they have just recently planted.
He's got the tubes for
Yep.
for ground mice and whatnot to eat the bark.
Yep. And like I said, this whole entire farm, this section here, 80 acres, is fenced in. You don't even want to know what it costs to fence it in. But looking at what deer do to apple trees, you can see here, there's 4 trees in this photo. The 2 on the right, they were nipped off at the top early on, and the 2 on the left weren't, and you can see the difference in the growth.
Albeit they all lived, but
Yeah.
the 2 on the left are going to be mature faster than the 2 on the right.
Yep. Yep, exactly. And then, you also got the issues of them nipping the buds off if this wasn't fenced in. I mean, they expect to get their return back, I think he said, on the fencing in 2 to 3 years, if I remember right. I may have that wrong, but that number seems to stick in my head. The best I can remember.
It's and they got those really close together.
Yeah, they do.
That's interesting. I didn't. Are they gonna? Is this to set up the rows of the?
Yep. Yeah.
Really, they got them that close together.
Yeah. Actually, he called them dwarf trees. I mean, if you. So they don't get big like a typical apple tree.
Okay, because I was expecting like a big apple tree. I'm like, man,
right.
That's gonna. Well, if they're dwarfs, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, if you go back, let me go back and see if I can find the photo here.
It's just one of those things that.
Right here, these are mature trees.
Okay, those are dwarf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're planted very close together.
Yeah. Okay. I was looking at that. I was like, okay, now it makes sense. Now it's.
So I tell you what, we're bumping up on our time here. This is a great spot to stop right now. Well, let's take our last break. We come back and we'll kind of wrap up some of the other stuff that I learned.
All right, cool.
Actually, my favorite part of the weekend is coming up. So.
All right, we'll go to break and talk about it.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Okay, everybody
For those on the live stream, if you've got any questions about what Mike has done those last 2 days out in the heat, sweating, just to learn about deer.
And actually, we can continue the conversation after the podcast as well, like we always do. But there was so much. I'm just hitting the high points real quick because there's just so much information to really take in that.
Well, if we don't finish it this week, we can pick it up a little next week.
There's definitely more that I could put into this. Like I said, it was I'll forget more than. I mean, there's so much I'll forget half of it.
Right.
Just as an example, here's multiple handouts. Multi-page handouts on stuff that we did and learned in the 2 days there. So it was really cool. And actually, there's one section in there we're not even going to cover tonight that I want to cover next week, or maybe when we get, if we have the opportunity to get Doug Robertson on the show from Conquest Sense. We had a DNR official over talking about deer farms here in Michigan. So that was pretty cool. It was good information. All right, let me save this, and let's get the next one. You ready, Dan?
Yep.
All right. Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. Last segment of the show. We'll run this one until we can't talk anymore.
Right.
So, but getting back to the Deer Rendezvous and what we did over there. After we visited those two farms, we came back over to the facility where we were at, picked all of our gear up, had dinner that evening.
Okay.
Over at an individual's house that has a deer. It was his home and his deer hunting property. Okay. And that's where all of day two's events took place. All of our schooling.
Oh, okay.
At his place. For a guy, think about this. For a guy to bring in 30 people he doesn't know, invite him to his house,
and give you food,
set up his garage with chairs, set up his basement with chairs, to do all these activities, and then to take you onto his property, his deer hunting property, and show you everything he did and does.
Well, but there was a reason, though.
It was part of the schooling and things we were learning, but that says a lot for some. I mean,
that is taking on a lot to have those 30 people come to my house, give them a meal, just out of the blue, right?
Well. But we tend, as deer hunters, and I don't mean to paint us in a bad light, but there's so many times that we hang on to things.
Okay, I was just about to say.
We hang on to information. We hang on to...
Why am I taking you onto my
property and showing you what I do?
Right.
Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to share information with you?
Right.
But when you're starting and running a co-op...
It's what you do.
It's what you do. That's what we're doing at our camp.
Yep.
We're, showing pictures to our neighbor. We're showing pictures of the deer we're seeing. We're talking about problems we're having on our property, the oak wilt.
Right, the oak wilt.
And sharing the spruce bedworm. Showing people how we're logging the property. We log section A differently than we did section B. Here's the results and here's the results. We changed things a little bit, and this is why.
Yep, exactly.
So.
And with social media being the way it is, it makes this all so much like you can make a Facebook page or email something. And instead of writing a letter saying, hey, here's the... And you can do it so much quicker now that your feedback coming on what you're doing with the neighbors and this gentleman here, having you guys come out and then say, here's my property.
Yep. I don't want to give too much away for the area of where it's at and all that, but this co-op...
It's in Michigan.
Yeah, it's in Michigan. Well, it's Western Michigan, but the co-op that they run over there, so there were some guys from their co-op there, and they're all working together. That's the key.
That is the most important when you do a co-op, is working together.
They're not all doing the same thing, but they're all working together.
They're all working together, and it's you don't get into, well, I'm not going to show you what I do to shoot my deer.
Right. Well, he did, and here we are. This is the group going down his property. That's a little 2-track access road. He's got corn, much like the first farm that we were at earlier that day. He has a farmer plants part corn on the property, and then the rest of it he hunts. So
and speaking of all the discussion that you had there, Charles is asking, was there any discussion about the different deer diseases affecting the agriculture?
In what way, Charles? Like how the TB or CWD affects agriculture? If you could type a little more with that, I'll be glad to answer that. But this property really reminded me a lot of when I went to Colorado hunting with Clint Turner over his place, because...
Illinois.
Yeah, what did I say?
Colorado.
I meant, Illinois. Jeez. I lose my mind. But yeah, Illinois. Ravine. A lot, deep ravines. Creek bottom. This is like creek bottom property up in the flats.
So you had the flats of the farmland, and then those wood lines I'm seeing are like either a ravine or a creek.
It's about a 60-foot drop. Yeah,
really?
Steep drop. Yeah, real steep drop. So, that's the thing that I immediately thought of when we got there. And there's the landowner right there in the orange, and now we're looking into. Part of a food plot. If you look over behind, I believe that was sorghum that was planted there, you see just a touch of dirt back there. That was a bean field, and I do say was. And this picture here shows it pretty well.
Oh, well, the cage is what should be what you guys are standing in to the right.
Yeah.
I take it.
Yeah.
It looks like you've got a little bit of browsing going on.
Yeah, so
this would be the point where the deer have nipped it off at the wrong time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or nipped it off too much.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly. Going back to what we'd learned at the other place.
Right.
And that's what we talked about out there. I mean, we go to each of these little stations or places on the property, and we'd talk about things that, we had already learned, and this was one of the things. And this is an inclusion or exclusion cage here. If you guys are not putting these up on your food plots, I'm telling you, you are missing the boat, because this tells you if you're successful or not. Because if you walk out to a field like what they're standing in there and you see dirt, you go, what happened to my food? Why didn't it grow? What did I do wrong? Well, I had the same issue at mine.
Because you walked out there and says nothing's growing.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for these a cage or two that you had out there to see actual growth, you'd be like, exactly, well, did I have a drought? Did I kill it? What did I do wrong?
Right.
No, you did everything right, because in that cage, it's 2.5 feet tall.
Right. So that right there tells you if your efforts are really working or not. And this gentleman also was really big into planting trees. There's the corn row again. This is further down from the last picture, but you can see he's got 3 rows of trees there.
Now, what I don't see is they are not fenced off.
He's working on those. Those are not all completely done. He was working that weekend up until we got there, pretty much. So.
Wow, he's got a bunch of trees there. Are those fruit trees or?
Yes. Well, yeah. And actually, interesting. You asked that, and you're like, okay, so what has he got? This is how he takes care of his trees, as far as knowing what he's got. He's got, you can see the 2018 spring tree planting, and he's got rows of trees, upland and lowland. So he knows where each of these plots are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different spots.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
I see what he's doing.
And to look at this up close, he's got them all in the rows there, but he knows exactly what he's planted.
He's planted from crab apples to pears to dogwoods.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Jeez.
So
hazelnut. Wow. To further the point, Charles, are the farmers concerned about the deer affecting the crops or diseases spreading from, say, trees moving from one farmer to another? I wonder if he's afraid if he's thinking the deer are carrying the disease. I wonder if that's what he's thinking.
Okay, I'm still kind of what disease, like a disease, a farm disease?
Yeah, that's what the deer affecting the crops, or diseases spreading from the trees, moving from one farm to another.
Really, the only thing we talked about as far as disease and spread was really mainly on day one. We had some DNR officials there. And we also had one of the board members from the NRC there, but she was there really to observe and listen and see, kind of feel our passion about the deer and what we do and how we manage deer on our own properties and within our co-ops, and why we're so adamant about sharing that knowledge and getting others, including NRC, to try to buy into our system of deer management. But really, the CWD issue was presented to us in being that it was a classroom setting and they were there presenting their side, was more of an update to us as to what they're going to propose next week when they...
Or no, this month, actually.
Yeah, when they start making this final decision.
So. They got one more public coming up this week.
Yep.
Then they make their recommendations.
Yep, then they vote on it, and then that sets it for 3 years.
Right.
It's a 3-year, every 3 years they revisit this.
Right. And Tony Smith says his soil has a PB deficiency.
PB, I'm trying to remember what PB is.
No, I'm waiting to find out.
Let me know, Tony. I can't remember what that is. But,
yeah. So, obviously, this guy, how many acres was...
I want to say this was about 200 acres.
Okay, so he had 200. He's got crops being planted. He's adding the trees wow, he's doing a lot of work. And he lives on this?
Yes, the front side of the property. And this property, too, was the lowland areas where he was doing some harvesting of trees and taking trees out. This picture right here. This, to me, was eye-opening. And you're like, okay, so what are we looking at here? If you look at where his hand's at, the bark below where his hand is what's left of a hawthorn tree. And he cut that hawthorn tree off, and he grafted an apple tree stem to the top of it. And you can see the green leaves.
And it's now growing.
It's growing.
The apple tree is now using the hawthorn trunk.
Yep, to grow.
To start growing.
Yeah, and this is an experiment, but he got this idea from the apple guys. So, and along with that, let me get back down here to the photos.
Tony said PB equals lead.
Lead. Oh, that's right. Yeah, lead deficiency. Yeah, he's covered up. Yeah, well, you could tell by all the browse.
Well, if you can take it down to the dirt where there's not even the grasses growing or anything like that.
And here's a closer look at some more grafting going on.
So, in this area, he's cut the trees, but he hasn't cut them down to the bottom, and he's grafting different types of trees onto other trees.
Yeah, and actually, I got a video here where he explains it. If you want to throw this up here, okay,
roll it.
Here it is.
Because they say if you take and just cut the tree off, the tree will go into shock, and it could die. So what they say is to leave a limb on, so that tree will continue feeding that limb out there. But once your grafts take off, cut that limb off, so then it takes those nutrients and pushes it into these rather than out into that stock. So when they take the first spot that we stopped on the orchard tour, they're larger trees. If they want to change those varieties, they'll cut them off right here, but they'll leave the bottom limbs on the apple trees, and then they'll put the grafts on right above them. And then once all those grafts come up into the new variety, they'll come and they'll cut all those bottom limbs off then, and then put your new tree, new fruit up. So, because they say if you take and just cut the tree off.
Okay. You know what? It's amazing that you can take a stump, in essence, graft on a different type of tree, start that growing on top of it, and then, like you said, he comes and they cut off the branches at the bottom to let the rest of the apple tree take root.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Really cool.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. Now the tour of that piece of property, that started at about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I think, and we come out and it was almost 10. We were down in that swamp bottom coming out and it was dark.
Yeah.
Some other things he's using is a lot of fake licking branches as well.
Okay.
Stand sites, playing the wind, all the things that, a good hunter does. But it's really neat getting onto a piece of property and seeing how other people utilize their space.
Well, that's it, right? He's utilizing the farmer for planting crops. Mm-hmm. He's utilizing then trees, then some food plots also.
Yeah.
And then he's going in and actually harvesting the trees, but grafting on other trees to keep them growing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I kind of want to jump into this last part here while we still have some time, and I hope I don't plow through this too quick. But it was definitely one of my favorite pieces this was day 2. Back into small settings and working with people in these smaller groups and trying to do things. And this particular exercise to me was very eye-opening. There's 2 hunting properties that were nearby, and we broke up into groups of 4. There was so I guess there was about 16 people, maybe 20 people left at this point in the day, and there was 2 groups of 4 going to one property, 2 groups of 4 going to another property. Okay. And what we were to do, these maps here, if you look at the maps, the map on the left, that's an aerial view of the property that I went to. The one in the middle, obviously, is a topo map. And then the next map there on the right is a soil,
types of soil that are on that land.
Yeah, and I forget exactly what they call it, but it's like a soil topo type map.
Okay.
It gives you all those lines. If you look in the middle of those circles, it gives you the soil composition.
Yeah, it
what's
tells you
there.
what soils are in each.
I forget. Actually, hang on. I've got it wrote down here of where these are available. Get back to my notes. These are available to the public online.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you can get them online, right?
Web Soil Survey, that's what it's called. And you can go online if you Google Web Soil Survey, and it'll take you from there. So we had those pieces of information, along with the fact, with us 4, we had to come up with a management plan for that property, a habitat management plan.
Okay.
So you're looking at, first off, the first question I ask, which way's north? Because I want to know where prevailing winds are coming from.
Yep.
North and west here, pretty predominantly in Michigan during hunting season. And this particular piece really had no access from the south, a hard, good southern access or an east access.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I said, okay, so how do we get around on this property? And my thought was, the next question was, what's the budget? Because I said, first thing I would do is put a road in, because this, along the southern edge, is a road. I'd put a road in going up that east boundary.
Right, exactly.
And I knew there was a little bit of a creek bottom there, or a drop off, looking at the topo map, but I didn't know exactly how far it was in relationship to that boundary. But so we go out to the property, we look at the places where they're bedding. We talked to the landowner, and he showed us where the typical bedding areas are. He told us the problems he was having, of maneuvering, what his neighbors did, deer movement, those things.
Okay.
So we got all that information from him.
Does he have hunting competition around him?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yep, from the north and from the west.
Okay, so he knows where his competition or his hunter pressure is at.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and the problem is getting access into the land and how he wants to do it and what should he do. So all of us go out. We all load up in the truck. So there's 8 of us out there and him, and couple of the kids that were with us and stuff. So we had a nice small group to work with.
It's nice to work in small groups. A group of 4 is kind of really nice because you can all get an opinion in and talked away.
So we get out to the property. The gentleman there in the middle there is the landowner with the sunglasses on his head there, and the gentleman holding the papers. He was kind of our group leader. He was kind of taking charge of it, asking a lot of questions. We're all kind of giving input and everything. But the biggest thing I got out of this is let me go back to this other picture. When you look at that topo or that over the aerial map,
right?
It looked like the land was really wide open. It looked like it was empty. And the reason was that aerial map, which we didn't know until we really looked, was taken in the winter. So all the leaves are off.
It was a foliage off map.
Yep. So you see these dark green sections. Those are the evergreens.
Yep.
So there's where you're going to leave. That's going to be part of your bedding area. It's also, and one of them was actually not even on his land, but you got thermal cover there for deer. And he said the deer do yard up on his property in the winter. So those are some of the things that we had to take in consideration. But we get out there, and man, it's thick. It's really, really thick. And actually, we're standing right on the edge where we thought about it'd be nice to put an access road in.
Okay.
Or trail. Well, right there where that log is behind the other gentleman on the left, it drops off about 100 feet, and almost not straight down, but it's steep.
Okay, maybe not a good access road.
So there's issues there, but then coming back and looking at this topo map again, along that eastern boundary, he's actually going to do some thinning, some logging. I'm like, perfect. You don't pay for the access road. Let the loggers build it.
Yeah, you can you can kind of tell the loggers when they come in and do that. That's one of the things that you can do is say, hey, I want you to cut it, to bring all the if you really wanted to, you could tell them to bring all the logs to a certain point, and you could actually create the road that they bring it to.
Yeah,
that's what happened
at your place
at my cousin Dennis's.
Yeah,
that's exactly. They created a road, and each off that road is you could tell the different landing spots that they brought the wood to, and they used one main road in and out.
Right. So that was that was kind of a good conclusion that we had come to. Here we are just standing around chatting a little more about different things. Now, this was a food plot he's got in the middle of his property here. We're all kind of looking at. And if you notice, if you can really kind of see it in the far view along that switchgrass line.
Yep.
He's running an electric wire around it. That's the reason his beans are doing so well.
he's making them stay out.
Yep, he's making them stay out. So, and he's he'll open it up later on. So, that to me was by far the most valuable thing that I did while I was there, as far as gaining an immense amount of knowledge. Because to me, it told me there's things I need to look at when you go look at a piece of property. And you walk it, and you're like, man, this is really nice. I'd like to buy this. I'd put a stand here. I'd put a food plot over here. Might thin these trees out over here a little bit. Get some early successional growth going over here. Maybe use a little fire, what have you. And, before you make that purchase, get an aerial map and look at it.
Well, you got definitely
look at what's near you. Look at the agricultural. Look at where the pressure's coming from. Maybe sometimes talking to the adjoining landowner may be good, may be bad. I don't know. But the thing that to me that really opened my eyes was the fact we looked at an aerial map and thought one thing, got on the ground and thought another. But had I not had the aerial map to really look at in the first place, I would have had a different opinion about that property.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. In the aerial photos can sometimes be years old that you get offline and whatnot. And so, you're kind of fighting that if it's a winter time. Definitely I can understand that, because there's some, I could show you an aerial photo of when we bought the property up in Crystal Falls. Mm-hmm. And look at it today and go, okay, that's not even close, right?
Right. Well, and there's something else, history use photos or history use maps. What was the land used 50 years ago, 100 years ago? And find out, like our hunting camp was pasture land. Believe it or not. I mean, our hunting camp was pasture land. Okay. All those trees were pretty much not there.
Really?
When it was a cattleman's area. There's that whole big section up there, and the reason it was never farmed because it's all sand. You can't grow anything.
It's very loamy.
Exactly. So So yeah, it was really huge. It was eye-opening to me. It was oh man, it was hotter than blazes. But I tell you what, it was really nice listening to other people talk, giving my input, and kind of figuring, okay, well, you mentioned something, well, they didn't think about that, or they mentioned something, and I said, I didn't think about that. And you start building upon that, and putting together a management plan. I've kind of done that at our place, when we start talking about habitat, but I've been there 20 years. I know that property. Not as well as I should, but I know quite a bit about the property. And to take that and apply that to, is like, well, Mike, come up to my property and take a look at it.
Right.
Tell me what you think.
Right.
Well, now I would never dream about doing that without having multiple maps with me and understanding what goes on in that whole area. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're looking at buying some hunting property somewhere, do your due diligence and really investigate not only the property but the surrounding area as well, and figure out exactly what you got before you just go in and plump down some money, and you might be disappointed. It's like, wow, it looked great, but I don't have any easy access to it. My neighbors won't let me access from whatever direction. I want to come in from the east, or I want to come in from the south, or whatever. How do you maneuver through the property without busting deer out?
Right, exactly, and it's one of the things we have on our, which would be our south 40. Mm-hmm. We have a road that goes to the cabin, and then we got a trail that loops into the back a little bit. But after that, that's kind of basically the only access to the back of the property.
Right.
It's a good and a bad thing. And it's, if you don't, especially if you're going to go buy property, mm-hmm. definitely at least walk it.
Right.
Don't get out there and go, okay, I'm buying. Mm-hmm. Walk it, check it out.
Spend time.
Yep.
Spend a lot of time. We spent an hour walking that property, probably. It was 220 acres. We did the big loop, right, back through the middle, and really, we come up with a plan. That was the other thing. We had to present our plan when we got back to the classroom.
So now so you had 2 groups of 4 per property.
Yes.
And each group had a separate plan? Well, or did you merge the plan?
Our group merged.
Okay.
Yeah, we all kind of worked together.
Okay.
The other group had 2 separate plans, but and those 2 plans varied a little bit, but not much. And that's the thing, man. When you get guys that understand this stuff and kind of dug into it a little bit, and you find out you're on the same page, it's reassuring to you as a hunter or a land manager to know that you are doing things in the right direction and thinking correct, in the right direction.
Wow. Did the grafting of the trees?
Yes.
Did he do that?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, he got the info from the apple orchard guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How to graft, and then he went and applied it, and it's working.
It's working. Don't know if they're going to reproduce or produce fruit, but hey, it's an experiment.
Working.
It's an experiment. So.
I tell you what, that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, overall,
action-packed weekend. You learned a lot. Your hair fell out because you're pumping so much information into that. Yeah, you did. So,
yeah,
that is cool. But now that's the whole key. Besides applying it to what you're going to be doing up at your own place, you can now spread the knowledge to others.
Yep. And that's what these workshops are really all about. I'm telling you guys, gals, whoever. There was a young lady there that came with, I don't know if it was her dad or grandpa, I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. She came with the family. It was her and a boy and the gentleman. And we break up in small groups, and I heard from a couple different people, it's like, she's got some really great ideas, because we're collaborating and trying to, like, one of the things, there's the 5 goals of QDMA is trying to accomplish in the next 5 years. Their corporate goals of what they're trying to do in the outdoors.
Right.
And then they were broken up into groups, and then we had questions we had to answer. How do you overcome this? How do you make this happen? And they said that, she was just very knowledgeable for a person of her age. I guess she was, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. You know what?
Sometimes when you have somebody that's that young and can think out of the box,
right,
that's all you need.
Right.
Their minds are just full of just throwing things out.
Right.
They haven't been affected by this or that.
Right.
It's, hey, what about from A to Z?
Right.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of some of the things I was trying to think of. I mean, from our standpoint, and what we do is trying to think outside the box. So we do that a lot.
You know what also that shows? That having younger people involved keeps it going.
That's the first thing I said.
You just weren't 30 people over 50 years old, just grumpy.
And that was the thing. There was a good age spread. I mean, from young people, there was a guy that was in one of our groups. He was 21. And there was a good number of them. I'd say between 25 and 35. And then there was us guys who were, let's just say, over 40.
Right. No. But you had that age spread.
It's a good mix.
That mix.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing that we have to do today, because they say, our numbers are falling off. Well, we got to get the younger people involved, or even the older people that aren't involved to keep them in, or bring them in. Actually, there's been older people that we've talked to that have been hunting for the first time.
Right. Yeah. There was, how do they call them? There was a term that one guy used for coming into hunting as an adult, and I forget. I wish I'd remembered it. It was funny, but yeah, there was some of those there. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Eric Schnell, our QDMA state of Michigan president, came into hunting as an adult.
Okay, all right. So there you go. Case in point, right there.
Yeah. So
and he embraced it and ran with it.
Right. So, if any of y'all ever have an opportunity to go to any habitat workshops, deer management workshops, outdoor workshops, it doesn't matter what it is. Get out there and spend the time and go.
You've been to one for butterflies.
Yeah, I did. You went Pollinator Workshop.
A Pollinator Workshop about butterflies. Now you're talking, grafting trees and whatnot.
Well, talking about the Pollinator Workshop, that one where you did the grafting, he planted some persimmons. He said really didn't know if they were going to take off or not, but he only had one. He had some more to plant. And the reason he had more to plant is because there's male and females of those trees, and they have to have them to pollinate.
Oh, okay.
So, we talked about pollination.
Right.
There was something else. He did a controlled burn on that hillside to bring up, new growth and native wildflowers. Well, it helps bring in pollinators to help pollinate other things. So, yeah, it all goes together.
Early onset hunters.
Early onset hunters. That's what it was. Thanks, Tony. Yes. Early onset hunters.
There you go. So, but it, and then if you take that and you go out, it'll come to you that, hey, just like that happened. You talked about pollination. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it puts it all together.
It starts, like I told you, for me, it's like I got the corners of the puzzle, and then I start putting the edges together.
Yep.
And now we start filling in the middle and putting this knowledge in your head. And the more you go to these things, the more it's like, oh yeah, I do remember that now. Things come up, and you start putting these things together, and then you start applying them in the field.
Right, exactly. So and you take what you learned, apply it, or pass it on.
Yeah, yep. So I can't say enough for if it's a QDMA workshop or if it's an MUCC workshop, or your local soil conservation district is putting on a workshop. I mean, that's something I don't know a lot about, is soil composition and things like that. And that's kind of something I'm going to probably start looking a little more into, as far as getting that into the spectrum and learning about that. Because you talk about how things decompose and go into the soil,
Yep.
if it's loamy or if it's not, and what do you need to make that happen, and how do fertilizers affect that, and it's just there's a lot a lot to it.
Yeah, there is.
So that's kind of the direction I think I'd like to start looking at here next. So get out there and get it done. So I'm telling you,
that's right. And soil just happens to be a little bit into the planning thing.
Just a little, you think?
Just a little.
So, all right. Well, we're that's 2 segments.
Well, it deserved it, because there's a lot. And
there's so much. There's other things I could talk about that we learned there. That I got paperwork down here in the floor, a stack of stuff that we haven't even covered. So
and see that's the thing. You're talking about helping the deer, turkey, and everything. And earlier we talked to Alex at Carbon Express about what to use to shoot them.
Yep. All comes back full circle.
Circle of hunting.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, that's all I got.
You know what? It's thanks to Alex for coming on, talking Carbon Express with us. Make sure you get to carbonexpress.com. Check them out.
carbonexpressarrows.com.
Right. And if you see Faradyne in there, they are the owner of Carbon Express, so don't worry.
Other hunting products as well.
Yeah.
Get out to Woods and Water coming up.
Woods and Water is coming up in September, and get out there. He said they're going to have the whole Faradyne line there.
Bowfest is coming up last Saturday in August here this month. Spot Shooter Archery. Make sure you get over. Big to do over there. Danny and I are going to be there for that event as well.
You know, get out, start. If you haven't started shooting the bow,
you better get it done.
Or get out and sight in your rifle.
Right on.
Done, right?
So,
and we'll probably talk more about this next week.
Also want to give a big shout out to Tim Sias from Limb Walker Game Calls. His live stream was actually last night, and I got to catch it, because I was out of town on Friday. He came in late Friday. He did his show last night. So on the limb with Tim Sias, and he has got a bag of Hunter's Blend coffee that's going to be headed his way here, I think, this week. So
cool, good deal.
Yep, we talked coffee a little bit last night.
Did you really?
Yes, we did.
All right.
So, want to give him a shout out and thanks for all he does. You know, if you guys are into turkey hunting or hunting in general, but turkey hunting is his specialty. He makes great calls. Get over there and check him out. He does his show every Friday night, 8:00 on Facebook. So you can check out his live stream as well. So. I tell you what, we're going to wrap up the podcast portion, but we'll stay here on the live stream for a few minutes, and we'll talk a little more if you guys would like. We've got a few guys here that just popped in, so we're going to sign off the podcast this week, folks. So you guys get out there, get practicing, get to your local shops, get the gear you need, and hopefully...
Get it now, because if you wait about another month, it's going to get really tight.
It's going to get a little thin. So hopefully we'll see you guys out on the range or in one of the shops or one of the events here soon. Y'all take care. Okay, guys, I see. Hey, Denny Steiner just chimed in. AJ Regal, you guys coming in at the tail end, but I tell you what, we're going to stay on here for a few minutes and chat. So about some of the things that we did this week. If you guys want to continue the discussion, we'd be more than happy to. I had about 20 trail cam photos I wanted to show tonight, but I knew there was no way we were going to get them in.
That's why we're going to talk about it next week.
Right. So.
You know, that's the thing. And next week, you know what? Next week, speaking of that, while you're... let me check something here really fast.
For those of you who just...
Next week...
Yeah, go ahead.
We're going to have another guest on.
And do we want to announce who that is yet? Or do we need to confirm?
No, it should be on. I got him confirmed, so I got a date, so it means it's confirmed.
Okay.
So we're going to have Jerry Lambert on next week.
All right, Outdoor Writer, and he is the new editor for Bowhunter. You better find out before next week. He's going to be mad.
It was on the tip of my head.
Right. Hey, Tony, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Michigan Bowhunters. There you go. Yes. So we'll be talking with Jerry Lambert next week.
And then we got one after that.
We got a couple lined up.
We got
several lined up, actually.
And then working on a couple others. Finish out the month.
There you go. So
it's always good to get other people on here and talk. Jerry Lambert, we're going to talk writing. And then the week after that, we're going to talk something a little different. So it'll be cool.
And
go
ahead.
Guy at work, Andrew.
Yes.
We had him on the show.
Distance shooter?
Yeah.
Okay.
He went to England.
Okay.
With his wife.
Okay.
Girlfriend, wife, yeah. They went and did the touristy thing, went and saw Harry Potter, stuff like that.
Okay.
He spent a week at a workshop
for
making his own knife.
Oh.
From building the kiln to the finished product.
That'd be something that would definitely be interesting.
And they took it from building your own kiln with sand, horse manure, and everything, building it up, to putting every 8 minutes having to put more iron ore in.
Okay.
Keeping it stoked, bringing out a ball of slag, pounding it to get off the crud, and then there's a couple things they didn't do traditionally. They used a automated hammer, but a week of doing that, and he said
we gotta get him on and talk about that. Especially if he's got photos of it.
Oh, he's got. I saw the photos and everything. It was really cool. And he's got even some video, I think.
Denny Steiner says, "Sorry he's late. It was his grandson's birthday." Denny, we can forgive you for that. I mean, that's a gimme.
As long as you stay healthy, buddy.
That's right.
Don't be doing this. None of this going to the hospital for some heart thing.
No. I saw that on Facebook as well.
I did too, and I was like, oh, what are you up to?
Right on. AJ Regal, if you're still on, have you planted your fall planting yet, or have you thought about planting? I know we're getting close to it. When we were at the workshop, and we were out on that evening walk of that hunting property, and that was one of the things, timing of the guy's beans, planting his soybeans. He said he was about 2 weeks too early planting, and he had some issues with that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said he thought he was a little too early.
Really?
Yeah. So
they have a window of opportunity then to get to time it out.
Yeah. So I know timing is critical. Timing, weather, water. How much rain you can get, or don't get. I mean, that's the biggest problem right now here in Michigan is the amount of rain that we're getting or not getting, depending on where you're at.
I was just about to say, because the UP got hammered, and I think northern lower got a little bit of rain. But down here, we're from, I think, Saginaw down our way, we're lagging. West side, man, that's especially depending on how much snow you get to get you into the spring.
Yeah. One thing I didn't talk about tonight, and we've talked about this on the show before, but it bears repeating again. This would have been yesterday, day 2, in the middle of the day after lunch. They played my video that I did up at Anchor Creek Co-op Rendezvous in January with Wayne Sitton.
Oh yeah,
his presentation, the doe harvest presentation. Yep. They didn't play the whole thing. They did about 20 minutes of it, and showing their science behind and what they've learned from that. And it was very interesting. Is it was being presented. It was much like it was at Anchor Creek Rendezvous. That there was about 150 people in attendance there.
Right.
And I remember hearing it. You could hear in the background as he would say something. People go, oh, wow. You could hear it very quietly. I never knew that.
Well, that's it, right?
You're kidding me. Wow. I never knew. That's going to change the way I hunt, And you could hear the things amongst the 30 people or so. And it's like the same thing. That's interesting. I never knew that. Wow. And then as he went through and talked about how many necropsies that they had done, how many fetuses they had checked, all of that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of that whole thing.
He was just doing the highlights.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go to an actual event if you ever have an opportunity to attend one. And, that's where the rubber meets the road, and you start seeing the things that they're talking about. That's why I keep talking about these events I go to, is because it's just so eye-opening.
Yep,
it just blows your mind of the new science that we're learning now, compared to 5-10 years ago. I mean, my whole mindset and focus has changed since I started doing this show.
Or the science that we don't know,
the unknowns, CWD. There was a little talk about that. Kind of getting back to Charles Byron's question, thinking about that's something they didn't talk a whole lot about.
Man, I don't know if there's time. Jeez.
Well, there's a lot of agendas there.
Well,
there's a lot of agendas right now driving CWD, depending on what side you're on. And there's about 4 or 5 different sides to this equation.
It's about an octagon.
Yeah. And, that's... Anybody, when you get in a setting like that and you've got people on multiple sides, it's almost like, okay, we'll listen to what the DNR is going to say, but we're not going to really respond. There was some response or some questions asked, but there was slipping around the edges as well. It's people are so passionate about deer hunting, depending, like I said, on what side of the argument you're on. people get really riled up.
Well,
and it was good to see that everybody kept everything in check and cooler heads prevailed.
Right? You know, and that's the thing.
But you could sense it.
And you talk about passion for hunting and whatever it is. I know my dad, when he was getting older, and he couldn't hunt, but just being at deer camp, just being there, just with the guys, letting them do some cooking when he really couldn't, but we helped him. Just that the passion, even at that age, is there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, it's just like Pat Durkin was saying last week. The one guy goes to his camp, it kind of cooks for him and helps him pack meat out. He goes on hikes. Doesn't hunt anymore.
Doesn't really hunt, but he does everything else.
Right.
Enjoys nature.
So, that's what it's all about. But
all right. Cool.
We got 6 people on here. If you guys got anything real quick, throw it out. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up the stream for tonight.
Yeah, wrap it up for another week, and even warmer tomorrow.
Is it supposed to be warm again tomorrow?
It's supposed to be warm again tomorrow.
I'm not looking forward to that. Not looking forward to it.
It is August.
It is August.
It would be the dog days of August, right?
And haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but I'll just kind of wrap it up with this. Any day now, I'll be a grandpa again.
Yes, you will be. I'm waiting for the news.
So are we.
Actually, she's past her due date.
Yes, she is. Wednesday was her due date. So
right. So she's now it's
overtime.
Almost getting ready to graduate.
Yeah. If it doesn't happen by Friday, they're going to induce Friday. Ooh. So baby number 2 will be served an official eviction notice.
On Friday.
On Friday.
Either Friday or Saturday.
So, yeah, that's what we're looking at, Friday or Saturday. Cool. So
good deal.
So by this time next week,
we should have pictures of a newborn.
Absolutely. All right. And listen, all y'all, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Appreciate all the efforts everybody put into Deer Rendezvous 2018 here in Michigan. It was a great weekend. We might touch a little bit more on this. And if you guys have got any questions about anything, you guys can email us. Share this on Facebook, Twitter. YouTube will be out on Wednesday.
Yep, YouTube will be Wednesday. And then we'll be back here next week.
Absolutely.
With another guest.
Oh, and Tim, see us. Congrats. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And Tim, that bag right there will be in the mail this week. So we'll get you a nice hot cup of Hunter's Blend coffee coming your way. So thanks, Charles. Appreciate it. Hey, listen, we're going to sign off now. You guys take care. We'll see you again next week.